Hello everyone, this is the week 2 devlog for the Tower of Madness. For those who don't know, I'm doing these devlogs to kind of show off the progress that I've made for the full release, kind of talk about some of the thought process behind some of the stuff that I'm making, and just kind of discuss the future of this custom level and the things I want to do in it. So, obvious spoilers for those who don't like that kind of stuff. For those who do, that's what these devlogs are going to be going over. So, before I get into the good stuff, the new floors and whatnot, one of the things that I kind of wanted to start this off with is I wanted to talk about music. Because obviously that's been one of the most requested things that people are wanting in the Tower of Madness and whatnot. And I keep putting it off. I haven't even attempted to try and put music in at all. One of the main reasons behind that is because it's one of the lower priorities on my list of stuff to do in adding this custom level. I'm putting in like 100 floors and have the whole thing be playable from start to finish. That's like one of the main priorities above all else. And on top of that, like even if I put in like placeholder music and whatnot to fill in the dead air, I'd want the music to be optional. Like, if you're like me who listens to their own music while they play, I doubt they'd want to have, like, the official Madness Project Nexus official soundtrack playing on top of their own music, you know? I mean, I'll eventually get to it. Probably in the next update that I roll out for this custom level. But that's just one of the main reasons why I've been putting it off and whatnot. But yeah, with that out of the way, I think it's time we get into the new floors. I've got 3 to show for y'all. So, starting with floor 18, bit of a flashbang warning for y'all. This room right here is going to be a mix of a visual showcase and a bit of a lore dump. This is basically going to be the room that reveals the main villain of the Tower of Madness, if that makes any sense. I can't go too deep into the lore just yet. I will start talking about it somewhat in the future, but as of right now, I can't. But anyways, this room was originally going to be like a mix of floor 5 right here and floor 12, where like the long hallway is like super twisted and whatnot. But after messing around in Blender for a little while, I decided to turn it into this kind of like spiral road, if that makes any sense. I can't fucking talk, Jesus Christ. And just to keep it unique from the other rooms and whatnot. And to add a little more uniqueness to this room, I plan on adding sub-rooms into this one, where like if you were to fall off the map, instead of losing a corpus or dying, you actually end up in a sub-room where instead of having 1 spiral, it's actually 3, and the enemies are much stronger. Or, a little Easter egg, if you were to get close to this spiral, try and jump in, you'll end up in a secret room where you can actually walk across this entire spiral, and if you were to completely, if you were to reach the end, you end up getting like a secret weapon or whatever. But, of course, everything's a bit of a work in progress, so everything's kind of subject to change. That's not fully guaranteed yet. But moving on to floor 19, we have a room that focuses more on gameplay, as you can see right here. So the way that you cross these little gaps right here is by either doing a snap dodge or a full dodge. So for this room in particular, I wanted to add in like some sort of platforming, not only to add a layer of uniqueness to it, but also add a challenge to it. Because, let me tell you, crossing these gaps without falling into the God knows where is going to be the least of your worries. The enemies on this floor can and will try to push you off these pillars to your death. If there is any floor that's going to wipe the floor with your face, this is definitely going to be one of the first floors to do just that if you've managed to overcome everything else at this point. Let's just say that if you hated dissonant golems before, you will definitely hate them after beating this floor. And this isn't even the most challenging floor I have in store for the Tower of Madness. Just wait and see. But anyways, moving on to the final floor for this devlog, which this one is still a bit of a work in progress, but it's at the very least developed enough to kind of show it off to y'all. This one is going to be a mix of a visual showcase and gameplay. I made this one in particular because not only did I want to experiment with the camera, but I wanted to create two different scenarios with this. The first one being you're trying to ascend to the top or whatever, and you got enemies dropping down from these pathways or whatever to try and kill you. And the other scenario is that once you actually reach the top, you're gonna have enemies coming up from all sorts of paths, one or the other, trying to reach the top as well, if that makes any sense, trying to kill you as well. But that's about as far as that one goes. I still got a lot of work to do to try and get this thing ironed out and add a bunch of stuff in. And yeah. Anyways, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about was modability. One of the biggest reasons why these floors are modeled the way that they are is so that way people can replace or add in whatever the enemy they want into these rooms without coming across any significant problems. I like the idea of people being able to create their own enemies, slap it into an add-on, and then use it to create a fresh new experience inside the Tower of Madness. I also want people to use and experiment with whatever origin they want, and then run the tower without coming across any underlying issues while playing it. Because, like, even though this is just a custom playground level, the way that I have it structured, it's essentially a glorified arena map. Eventually, I want to make like origins and enemy replacement add-ons of my own for the Tower of Madness, just to kind of show off what you can put in these rooms and whatnot. But that may come at a later date, probably after the full release, mainly because like I don't know if I'm gonna have the time to kind of squeeze that in with my already tight deadline that I've given myself to finish this, which is Madness Day. But aside from that, one of the last things that I wanted to talk about was what I have in store for next week. Because next week there is going to be no devlog. Instead, I'm actually going to be making a tutorial on how to make your own custom levels in Project Nexus, kind of like the Tower of Madness. So I'm sure that's going to be pretty interesting for both you and me. Mainly me, because I'm not really used to talking in a mic all too often, especially for extended periods of time like this. But regardless, keep an eye out for that. I'll have that released sometime next Sunday, but until then, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.